What up, y'all? This is Patrick Hayes, and today what I want to do is I want to talk about the idea of empowered feminine. The reason why I want to talk about the idea of empowered feminine is because I feel like a lot of what I've been seeing portrayed by the media is not an authentic example of empowered feminine. A lot of stuff that is being portrayed as empowered feminine is actually, in my opinion, being portrayed as a kind of masculine energy, and oftentimes an imbalanced masculine energy to the over-dominant side. And so I want to talk about how this can be destructive if misinterpreted. And I want to talk a little bit about how I see empowered feminine, how I would define empowered feminine, and then I want to talk a little bit about masculine and feminine in general. Now, I know this is a tricky topic, especially with the LGBTQ movement and gender neutrality and this whole thing. So when I say empowered feminine, I guess anybody could embody empowered feminine. And ideally, a truly evolved being, I think, should be able to embody masculine or feminine in both the passive and active role, depending on what the situation is in need of. But I'll get a little bit more into what that means in a little bit. What I want to start with is that I've been seeing so much in media, and it's been for a long time, this idea of the empowered feminine basically being an expression of a dominating masculine figure. And it's increasing. The amount that I see this is increasing to the point where there's so many shows and movies where there's this woman playing the empowered woman role, but essentially she's acting like a badass dude, like taking control of the situation, dominating their opponents, kicking everyone's ass, and like being a badass. And I'm not saying that it's bad for a woman to have these qualities. What I'm saying is that if somebody's truly trying to embody the feminine, then these are not the qualities that really express the feminine energy. And this is a tricky thing because I feel like what is being portrayed as being empowered for a woman. So this is programming going into really young girls' minds that in order for them to be empowered, they have to act like a badass dude. So they have to be like a cutthroat business executive that goes in and dominates the competition. Or they need to be a badass that kicks everyone's ass. And that is one element of the masculine expression that mostly is being portrayed in a distorted way, where it's like an overwhelming, over-dominating expression of masculinity. Whereas feminine to me is much different than that. Empowered feminine to me is more along the lines of the kind of energy that, say, like grandma has, that magnetizes everyone together. It brings people together, or like a mother that when the two sons are bickering with each other, when her presence arrives, they get over it, right? It's kind of disarming energy. To me, feminine energy is beautiful and playful and explorative, and it floats around and plays with things, and it's circular, and it has a softness to it, a softness that's disarming to a really strong, overwhelming, dominant energy. And I feel like this is the balance between masculine and feminine, that the masculine can keep the feminine grounded in the sense that it doesn't get too distracted and too playful and just kind of like float all over the place. It's like, no, this is what we're doing. We're going to go in this direction. We're decisive and we're taking action. We're penetrating. And the feminine energy is the one that keeps the fun alive. It's like the playful dancing energy, very circular, very playful. And I feel like women are losing this quality because there is so much media out there that is saying if you want to be an empowered woman, you have to act like the overwhelmingly dominant male. And I think this is a problem. Now, a great framework that I was introduced to by a woman named Jennifer Russell about masculine and feminine, I saw it in a video on YouTube called The Hive. And Jennifer talked about the active and passive masculine and the active and passive feminine, and the importance of people to understand how each of these roles are really necessary in a community kind of situation. Now, each role has its part to play. And so she talks about the active masculine being the penetrating energy, the energy where someone walks into a room, you know that they're there and they're expressing themselves really intently, and their voice is being heard. This is what I think. This is what we should do. This is the decision we're making. This is the direction we're going. This is the active masculine. And this is probably, of all four of the different expressions of masculine and feminine, this is the one that's probably portrayed the most as being empowered. The one that's basically taking the reins and making the final decision. This is what we're doing, dominating. And there's a place for this. There's, especially in tribal cultures, there was totally a place for the masculine energy that would dominate the situation, that would overwhelm the opponent. You can think of hunting, you can think of in battle. So while there's a place for that, it can also be distorted or taken too far, right? And this goes for all the different expressions. So we have this active masculine, which is like the penetrating energy. And then we have passive masculine. And passive masculine is the space holder. And this is the masculine that holds space so that other people can be heard. So this is the kind of situation where a father will hold the field amongst their family to let the youngest in the family express themselves. He's like, everyone be quiet, let the youngster speak, right? And this is passive masculine. And then we have feminine. So active feminine. Active feminine is expressing for other people. So the active feminine would be able to tune into the field of the group, or tune into the person that needs to be spoken for, and speak for that person, right? So actually being active, but being empathic. So it's not active in like I'm speaking for myself way, but it's active in the way that I'm feeling the field here of everyone in the situation, and I'm speaking for the field. I'm speaking for the group, or I'm speaking for the person that needs to be heard. And this is the active feminine. And then we have the passive feminine. And the passive feminine is like the opposite of the penetrating masculine. So where the penetrating masculine is going in and making itself heard, the passive feminine is very much magnetizing. It's pulling people together. It's pulling your interests to her. Seduction. It's magnetizing. And this is the kind of energy that actually can disarm an overly aggressive masculine. And I've seen this happen to the point where, and you've probably all seen this happen too, where there can be a man, it doesn't need to be a man, but a person that's being extremely dominating or overwhelming. But if a woman has that magnetization quality to her, that feminine allure, and it doesn't even need to be sexual, but just that magnetization, she can draw his attention away from his frustrations and bring him back into a womb-like experience, calm him down with her feminine energy. And I feel like we're losing this in our culture. So many women out there feel like if they want to be empowered, that they need to go dominate. But we don't need any more domination right now from women. What we need is the feminine to come forward, and we need women to be that beautiful, playful spirit that can disarm the overwhelming, dominating masculine when the time is appropriate. So what I'm saying is that women, or people that are identifying with feminine energy, what your power is your power is grace and beauty. And that grace and beauty can disarm this intense, overwhelming domination energy, right? It actually is there to bring it back into balance, the same way that the strong, empowered masculine is there to bring structure when there's too much flimsiness going on. So I guess what I'm suggesting is that, just keep your eyes out for the media and how the story is being portrayed. Because I feel like, whether it's social engineering or not, I'm not going to get into that, but I feel like there is a lot of destructive media out there that is really encouraging the feminine energy to become a masculine energy. And so the idea of what an empowered feminine energy is being muddled up with this idea of a overwhelming dominant masculine energy. And while we need that dominant masculine energy, it needs to be balanced by the feminine energy so that it's done from a beautiful place and not just a tyrannical, over-aggressive, over-dominating place. So that's what I got to say. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Patrick Hayes. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and put them in the comments below. And if you haven't already hit the bell button, and then you'll be notified every time I release a video. So thanks so much, and I'll talk to you next time. One love.